U.S. Treasuries took that.
Listen up, Rebels. Rebel Leader here, and boy have I got some weekly intel for you. Today we're going to be talking about cannabis, marijuana, pot, or weed stocks. But first I want to mention the explosive run that CCIV has had since I mentioned them last Monday on the weekly intel. Last Monday CCIV was at $30 a share. Now it's at $40 a share. That's a 25% increase in your money in 1 week. So leave a comment if you guys jumped in on it and made a lot of money. Now pat yourself on the back, keep holding CCIV, and just know that there's a lot more money to be made in the stock market. Now let's talk about the explosive growth that the cannabis industry is set to have over the next 5 to 10 years in the United States. 66% of Americans want to see marijuana legalized, and the US is projected to be the largest cannabis market in the entire world by annual sales. Now let's take a look at the cannabis usage by age. 22% of Americans aged 18 to 29 use cannabis on a regular basis. 11% of Americans aged 30 to 49 use cannabis on a regular basis. 12% of Americans aged 54 to 65 use cannabis on a regular basis. And then 3% of Americans aged over 65 use cannabis on a regular basis. Now it's important to keep in mind these statistics are all confidential, but also it is currently illegal in the United States to use cannabis. So these numbers can only grow from here as more states vote to legalize. Wall Street is looking for annual weed sales to catapult from $10 billion in 2018 to just between $100 billion and $200 billion by the year 2030. That means annual sales can 10x to 20x over the next 10 years. So that's why there's a lot of hype around cannabis stocks right now. But there are also some risks to know about. Now the main risk is legalization, because without legalization, a lot of the companies can't get funding, a lot of the companies can't really grow. They can't even get licenses to sell or even produce cannabis in any major mass form. And once they do get these licenses to legalization, it still might take a few years to even roll out and expand, be able to meet the demand of the customers. But the legalization is also a double-edged sword, because on the one hand you have supply issues, and on the other hand you actually have higher taxes where it's simply cheaper to buy cannabis on the black market. Now, of course, this is only a growing pains issue, because as legalization becomes more prominent across the board, you're gonna have apps and websites start launching, and you'll see weed superstores or playgrounds kind of being built as hubs like bars are currently for alcohol. Now, I don't know enough about each of the individual cannabis companies, and I just don't have the time to do research on them all, because they are relatively new and have scarce information available. However, I do believe in the entire sector/industry, especially over a Biden presidency over the next 5 to 10 years. And I have no doubt that the government and individual states will legalize and decriminalize cannabis. Now, an ETF is an exchange-traded fund, which basically means they're a basket holding many stocks that are actively managed by a brokerage or a hedge fund. Typically, you can expect to pay between 0.5% to 1% as an active management fee for holding the ETF. But if your gains are going to be high enough, then it really won't matter, and is well worth it, because this way you'll have experts who are going to be researching all these companies, buying the growth companies for you, and also selling the underperforming companies for you. And that is why now is a really good time to buy cannabis ETFs. And I'm gonna give you 2 here today that I think are set to explode, especially over the next 3 to 5 years. The first one is YOLO, ticker symbol YOLO. It's currently sitting at around $27 a share and is up just about 50% over the last month and 100% over the last 3 months. Now, YOLO's top holdings are companies like Village Farms International, Curaleaf Holdings, Green Thumb Inc., and Grow Generation. The second cannabis ETF that's set to explode is ticker symbol POTX, POTX. It is currently sitting at $19 a share, up 30% over the last month and just about 100% over the last 3 months. POTX's top stock holdings are Tilray, Sundial, Kronos, and Aurora Cannabis. Now, as you can tell, the really only difference between these ETFs is that they hold different companies in their makeup of their basket. And it just really depends what kind of basket you want to buy. You should generally look at the top holdings of both ETFs to kind of see where your values align, where you think more of the growth is. Because again, you're buying the basket and not really any one individual stock. But I expect major gains in the marijuana industry over the next 10 years. So I'm going to throw about 3 to 4% of my portfolio into YOLO ETF. So keep living the high life, Rebels. Rebel Leader, over and out.